Welcome to BD Daily Tech News Podcast for 2025-11/25. We're coming to you from the East Coast with about 10 minutes of dense, no-fluff tech. Today we're starting with a Bloomberg report that Meta is in talks to spend billions of dollars on Google's AI chips, a move that could finally turn the GPU race into a real three-way fight with Nvidia.
Nvidia still ships an estimated 70 to 80% of the world's AI accelerators, so any serious Meta-Google deal is about clawing back that dependency. The information says Meta could commit to Google's TPU v5p hardware for training and inference, and even a single billion-dollar order would represent tens of thousands of chips and many exaflops of compute.
What's wild is that Meta already designs its own MTIA accelerators and buys Nvidia H100s by the truckload, so adding Google TPUs makes this a true multi-vendor stack. For developers listening, this could mean more choice in 2026 for where you fine-tune or serve models, instead of being stuck on whatever GPU your cloud region happens to have in stock.
The other angle is cost. Last year, some hyperscalers were quoting all-in training costs of roughly $25 to $30 million for a frontier-scale model with Nvidia, and Google is pitching TPUs as 30 to 40% cheaper per unit of useful compute. If Meta can play Google and Nvidia against each other, they're not just buying flops, they're buying bargaining power for the next 3 years.
There's also a timing race here. Nvidia's B200 and GB200 systems are expected to ramp through 2025, while Google has been talking up TPU v5p clusters and even custom liquid-cooled pods. If you're a startup, this is your cue to architect your models to be portable across CUDA, TPUs, and maybe even custom ASICs, so you can follow the cheapest and greenest compute.
Exactly. And don't forget the power grid. A single hyperscale AI data center can draw more than 500 megawatts, roughly a small city's worth of electricity. As chip performance keeps doubling, energy and cooling constraints may be what actually caps how big models get, which is why we're seeing experiments with 3D packaging, liquid immersion, and even nuclear-powered data centers.
If you're enjoying this breakdown of the chip chessboard, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next twist in the AI hardware wars. Let's pivot from chips to where a lot of that compute is headed: massive government AI clouds. AWS is reportedly committing around $50 billion to build AI infrastructure for the U.S. government, extending a relationship that started with a CIA cloud contract back in 2013. To put that in context, $50 billion is more than many countries' annual defense tech budgets, and signals a bet that public sector AI will be a decades-long revenue stream.
Since 2011, AWS has quietly become the default cloud for a lot of U.S. agencies, and this new push is about air-gapped AI regions, classified-ready foundation models, and compliance with frameworks like FedRAMP High and IL6. Think of models that can analyze satellite imagery, sift through millions of documents, or simulate logistics scenarios, all inside secure government enclaves.
There's a big policy question here. When a single vendor underpins intelligence, defense, and civilian AI workloads, you get efficiency but also serious concentration risk. If you're a smaller cloud or an open source shop, the opportunity is to specialize in areas AWS can't easily touch, like privacy-preserving analytics for cities or cross-border research clouds in Europe and Asia.
And citizens should care because these systems will influence everything from how benefits are processed to how fraud is detected. In 2023, the U.S. government already spent over $3 billion on AI and machine learning. The real test over the next 5 years will be whether agencies can pair this infrastructure with responsible AI guardrails, transparency reports, and robust human oversight.
If you work in public sector IT or policy, drop us a comment on how your agency is actually using AI versus what's in the press releases. Now, from giant clouds to something much smaller and supposedly calmer, the mysterious AI device Sam Altman and Jony Ive keep teasing. Sam Altman has been describing OpenAI's forthcoming hardware as more peaceful and calm than the iPhone, with a target launch window of roughly the next 2 years. Partnering with Jony Ive, the designer behind the original iMac and iPhone, they're reportedly exploring a simple, distraction-free AI gadget instead of another app-stuffed rectangle.
Calm computing is basically the opposite of notification hell. Think ambient microphones, subtle lights, and maybe a tiny display that only wakes up when needed. After Humane's AI Pin and the Rabbit R1 struggled to gain traction, both reportedly selling in the tens of thousands, not millions, Altman and Ive are betting that better models plus better industrial design can finally make a screen light assistant stick.
The key metric here won't be megapixels or refresh rate. It'll be trust and latency. Does the device answer in under a second and get it right often enough that you stop reaching for your phone? If they can keep average daily interactions under, say, 50 a day while still being useful, that's a very different attention model than the typical 200-plus smartphone pickups many of us rack up.
Privacy will make or break it, especially after years of smart speakers vacuuming up voice data. Surveys from 2024 showed over 60% of consumers worried about always-on AI microphones. If this thing ships with strong on-device processing, clear hardware mute, and transparent data retention policies, it could reset expectations for what an AI companion should feel like.
If you'd actually buy a calm AI device, let us know how you'd want it to behave. One sentence, no marketing speak. Meanwhile, we're already seeing today's AI models creep into everyday tools, and Anthropic just pushed that a step further with its latest release. Anthropic has introduced Opus 4.5, a cheaper, more powerful, and more efficient version of its flagship Claude model, plus new Chrome and Excel integrations. The company says it's targeting longer, more stable chats, addressing a long-standing criticism that Claude sessions could feel cramped compared to rivals with million-token context windows.
Under the hood, Opus 4.5 pushes into multi-million token territory for documents, meaning you can realistically drop in entire code bases or multi-year financial histories. Anthropic is also emphasizing latency and cost, claiming double-digit percentage reductions in price per token versus earlier Opus versions, which matters when teams are running thousands of queries per day.
The Chrome extension lets you summarize or annotate pages in place, while the Excel integration can analyze sheets without you exporting CSVs, which is huge for analysts living in spreadsheets. If you're a power user, this is the moment to start tracking actual productivity metrics. How many hours per week Opus 4.5 saves your team versus older tools.
And remember, Anthropic's whole pitch is constitutional AI, where a written set of principles guides the model's behavior. So they'll be judged on whether these new integrations stay aligned under heavier workloads. For enterprises, the combination of longer context, lower cost, and Browser plus Excel reach makes it much easier to pilot real workflows without hiring a full MLOps team on day one.
Let's close in China, where Bloomberg's Tech In-Depth reports that top companies are focusing on AI agents as the next battleground. Instead of just chatbots, they're building systems that can plan tasks, click through apps, and even complete purchases on your behalf, turning models into semi-autonomous digital workers.
Companies are already seeing massive adoption. For example, some super apps average over 1 billion monthly active users. So even a 1% uptake of AI agents would mean tens of millions of people delegating daily chores. Companies are talking about agents that can negotiate hotel prices, manage customer support queues, or orchestrate factory workflows, effectively becoming a new software layer between users and services.
Regulators in Beijing are also moving fast, with draft rules in 2024 requiring security reviews for public-facing generative models and tighter controls on training data. If China gets AI agents deeply integrated into commerce and logistics first, Western platforms may find themselves copying patterns that were battle-tested at truly massive scale.
For listeners, the big takeaway is that the interface of the 2030s might be you telling an agent what outcome you want and letting it handle the clicks, forms, and follow-ups. The winners will be teams that learn how to supervise these agents, measure their error rates, and design guardrails so automation boosts trust instead of eroding it.
Meta flirting with Google's AI chips, AWS's $50 billion government cloud bet, Calm AI devices from Altman and Ive, Anthropic's Opus 4.5, and China's push into AI agents. If this episode helped you think more clearly about where AI is headed, follow BD Daily Tech News Podcast, leave a quick rating, and share it with one colleague who's building the future with you.
You can also send us your questions about AI chips, cloud strategy, or agents, and we may feature them in a future episode. Until tomorrow's rundown, keep your models grounded, your metrics honest, and your notifications just a little more calm.